In the last stream, we were working on finally setting up the automation for the first tier of Technium Ingots, and as you can see, since the end of the last episode, this whole setup here has been working quite nicely to produce a backlog of 64 basic Technium Ingots, which is exactly what we want because we did put a storage downgrade into this drawer, which reduces the base storage to a single stack. So 64 is the maximum amount that this drawer can hold, and we're now fully backed up on Technium Ingots, and we're going to start to slowly but surely back up on all of the other stuff as well, like bronze and treated wood and coal coke down here. I did have to lock this drawer between streams. I didn't lock it in the last stream, and we ended up with some random stuff in there because it has a link cable. And of course, with the link cable there, the system will sometimes try and put random stuff into here if it's not locked to something specific, but that has since been fixed. And I've also since added the integral components to these two as well to make them just that little bit faster. So the plan for today's stream is going to be to kind of start working towards doing the same thing with advanced Technium, but as I mentioned in the last stream, if we want to do that, I think we're first going to want to unlock the ability to make the gear working die for the multi-servo press, which is going to make it substantially easier for us to make gears going forward. To do that though, we need to get diamonds. And if we want to get diamonds, we have to complete this quest right here to unlock the research paper for diamonds and emeralds. To make this, we need 4 advanced Technium, 1 blank research paper, and 4 ruby blocks. And so this is kind of where we're going to start today. We need to get ruby blocks, and for that, we need to push further on through the thermal quest line, and then from there we need to move into the crystal quest line to unlock the rubies, sapphires, and peridot. Before I do that, I could do with some food, and as we know, we can craft these all the way into carrots, and I am interested in trying out these golden carrots as a food source, which I think are going to be pretty good. The only other thing that I've really done between streams is upgraded a lot more of these storage drawers. Last time we upgraded, I think, lapis, coal, and maybe iron. Between streams, I've added quite a lot more of the gold storage upgrades to a lot more of these drawers. Lapis especially, there is just so much lapis coming in. We're almost 30,000. I had to add a second storage upgrade here, and you'll see that even with those upgrades, we are still once again backing up on things like redstone and coal, so we could potentially even do with yet more of these upgrades, at least for lapis, redstone, and coal, to give them even more space, and ideally, before the end of today's stream, we could also do with getting ourselves some void upgrades to allow us to delete any excess that we get of these resources. Because while we don't really want to be deleting resources, if we do get to the point where we have like 50,000 lapis, we can probably delete any excess lapis that comes in after that point, just to save us on backing up on storage, because we don't want our chests to fill up, because if they do, then we can't craft, and then we're going to get spewage as well, and it's going to be a whole thing. One other thing that came to mind between streams is that we should probably just get more storage request tables. We currently just have the one, but we can make really as many crafting tables as we like now because we do have the oak planks automated on the left. Surprisingly, the one thing that we don't have is cobblestone, but of course we do have quadruple compressed cobblestone available to us by our cobblestone miner, and we're also probably at the point where we could upgrade this to quintuple compressed cobblestone, I imagine quite easily, because yeah, we're fully backed up on 2048 cobblestone there, which is a surprising amount of cobblestone. But look at this, it's too much. It's too much cobblestone. We could do with setting up a system that automatically crafts that down for us, like a series of either compacting drawers or auto crafters would allow us to kind of craft that down into regular cobblestone, and then if we could make that regular cobblestone available to our simple storage network, that would make it a lot easier for us to craft things like these droppers here. But essentially what I'm thinking is, if we go ahead and make, say, 3 more of these storage inventories, which we should definitely be able to do here, 2 and 3. We can then make 3 more storage request tables, which is the thing we're using right now, and then we can just dot these around the base to allow us to access all of our resources without having to run back to that singular storage request table every time we want to craft something. For example, if we were to go ahead and place one down kind of just in the center of the room here, it is going to require a few more cables, and I actually don't know if I left all the other cables in the drawer. I totally did. But my thought process is that we can put one maybe right about here. We could also put one potentially just in the center of the base, that being, let's say, right about here. Yeah, right about here. We obviously don't need this trim anymore, so we can get rid of that, and there should be some cable right there that we can hook up to this storage request table. And then finally, we can do the same over here. Between streams, I did run a bit of cable up and around to here so that we don't have to do it in the episode. And again, if we just put this down, let's say in the center of the room right about there, we can hook all these up, and then we should be able to access all of our resources from wherever we are in the base without having to run back to this one centralized area, which is just going to make us so much faster at doing everything. Alright, so this now works. You'll see in here that we have access to everything just like we do back at the main base, and I've gone ahead and hooked up all of the other interfaces as well. So we can just throw down the smooth stone, and over here we can set this to sort by amount, descending, and again, we have access to all of our stuff, which is going to make us just a lot faster going forward. Now that that's taken care of, I think we might need to start by trying to get the void upgrades. They're all kind of part of the same quest line anyway. Again, we'll set this to amount. The quest line being the thermal quest line. There's a quest over here for the blast chiller. The blast chiller is going to allow us to make obsidian more easily. We don't necessarily need it because we can get obsidian the old-fashioned way. If we take some lava and we just place it down and we place some water next to it, that will turn it into obsidian. And as I've mentioned previously, if we quickly do something like that, the Prospector's Pink surprisingly has a diamond mining level. You'll see at the top there, there's a little tick next to the diamond pickaxe, and so you can use the Prospector's Pickaxe here to mine obsidian. Like so. The only problem is that it's kind of slow, right? We could put down a ton of lava and then spend a while using Ultimine to mine it all, but I think it's going to be better for us if we can automate the production of obsidian using the blast chiller. The only trouble with the blast chiller is that it does require advanced technium to make, which is not too bad. Between streams, I did start making more of the required items for advanced technium. We've got a bunch of aluminum plates, we've got some steel gears. We could probably do with even more steel gears because here we only have enough for 4 advanced technium, and don't forget we do need 4 advanced technium in order to make this research paper, so we are going to need more than that. Lava bottles, super easy to get. We can just get those by moving buckets of lava up to the bottling plant, and other than that, we just need some Invar and some basic technium, which of course we already have. So we'll quickly whip up this blast chiller, and I've got to remember, Isaac, I don't have to keep running back. It's going to take me a second to get used to that. While we're doing this as well, though, let's also see about making the magma crucible as well as the crystallizer, because both of these are required to get crystal base, and the crystal base here is what we need if we want to unlock the crystal ore. And again, I think this is going to require even more advanced technium. It is, yeah. So we need like 10 advanced technium in total, as well as at least 4 of the crystal base here, but almost certainly more than that as well. So in terms of the crystallizer, we do need hardened glass. The magma crucible also requires hardened glass. The blast chiller doesn't require any hardened glass. Hardened glass is something we can make. It is sand, obsidian, and steel dust inside of an induction smelter. And so I guess, never mind, let's get the blast chiller going, because the blast chiller is kind of the thing that's stopping us now. We need obsidian to make the hardened glass, and then we need that hardened glass to push forward. So aluminum sheet metal, easy enough. Lava bottles, easy enough. Invar, we've got 19 in here, and I think I might have been making more over in the alloy kiln. I totally am. Fantastic. And of course, basic technium we have automated up on our new platform over here. And so now it's just a case of actually getting another one of these advanced crafting tables, because right now we are using the only advanced crafting table that we have to automate the first tier of technium. Again, this shouldn't be too bad, but we do actually not have any coal coke. There might be a little bit hanging out in one of these blast furnaces over here. If there isn't, though, we might have to quickly throw down another coke oven and use that. We should probably put down another coke oven anyway, just to have some coal coke left over, because I think our current setup is using the coal coke faster than we're producing it, although there's a good chance, actually, now that I think about it, that there's probably coal coke backed up inside of the advanced crafting table right here. Yeah, we got 4 stacks of this stuff, as well as an extra 33 in here, so never mind. Let me take this, and then let's go ahead and craft up, ideally, 2 of these, 1 and 2, and then 1 of these. Nice. Okay, cool. And we might as well upgrade that to an auto-crafting table with 4 wooden hoppers here, and at that point, we can basically just put this down over here, which is kind of going to be its final resting place. We're going to use this to automate advanced technium like we've done with basic technium beforehand. So let's see, what are we missing? The answer is nothing. Let's quickly turn that off. Shift left click and then left click to set that up correctly. That's going to get us 5 advanced technium, which is enough for now, but we do need more going forward. And again, it's just steel. Steel gears is the main thing that we're missing. And so just to stay up to date on all of this, let me quickly grab maybe 2 more stacks of iron, and I'll quickly throw that into the blast furnaces that we have over here to get even more steel cooking for later on in the episode. But this should be enough to get us at least the blast chiller, which then should be a decent way of us getting some obsidian. So boom, and boom, we'll take all that out, and then let's see if we can't make this blast chiller happen. We'll take 2 advanced technium, nice, okay, blast chiller. Boom, and boom, nice. Okay, that wasn't too bad. We do also have to power this thing. How much power does this use by default? Just 20 redstone flux per tick. We do have some spare integral components here, which I think would be useful to implement. That takes it up to 60. And we could also take this guy and maybe just grab, you guessed it, another lapidary dynamo. There are other dynamos we could make. For example, we could take the Sterling dynamo here, which I believe will just run on regular old fuel, which is also not a bad setup for us because we do have coal coming in abundance. Basically, though, what I'm thinking, actually, it might not be a terrible idea. It could be an interesting idea for us to use a magmatic dynamo here. We don't necessarily need it, but the magmatic dynamo runs on lava, and there's also a quest for it as well, which we might as well complete because that is going to allow us to complete the Thermal Expansion questline here. It also gets us a tech book, and the tech books are becoming exceedingly rare to the point where I think at some point today we are also going to want to unlock the research that allows us to craft tech books. There are, I think, 5 tiers of kind of tech book crafting unlocks, and basically as you move further and further through the game, you unlock better ways of crafting tech books. So the first recipe that we're about to unlock works, but it's not going to be particularly great, and then as we move further through the pack, we're going to unlock kind of easier ways of making large amounts of tech books. But over here, what we can do now is we can throw down the blast chiller. I'm going to put it down, like right here, because I think we can set the back to input and then turn auto input on. That should pull the lava in directly. It totally does. And then from there, we just need to give this thing some lava. So what I think we'll do, unfortunately, you can't pull directly into the magmatic dynamo like you can with the blast chiller. And so instead what we can do is we can grab some fluiducts. I think we should have some spare from the last batch we made. We totally do. We are going to once again need another servo to actually allow this to extract. And we're also probably going to want to grab more of those flux ducts as well to get the power from the magmatic dynamo around into the blast chiller. But the plan here is basically to extract from here with the servo going down like that. We're then going to have our magmatic dynamo, let's say here, and then we'll run that kind of from here around to here. This doesn't look great. I'll probably end up swapping this to have the flux ducts maybe go underground or go to the bottom of the blast chiller, but this does work, and we are now making obsidian, albeit somewhat slowly. Of course, in here we can add the integral component to make this just a bit faster, and that should now be backing up on power in here. It is indeed, and obsidian is being made. The void upgrades do require 8 obsidian per void upgrade, so they are a little expensive. Thankfully, the hardened glass is not quite as expensive. The hardened glass just requires 1 obsidian per 2 hardened glass with sand, and then steel dust, which we can get by running steel through a pulverizer, which really should not be too bad. Alright, so the Twitch chat did point out here that it makes a lot more sense to just have 1 flux duct that goes into both the magmatic dynamo and the blast chiller, and then we're just running the flux ducts underneath to the blast chiller, and then I've placed one of our framed drawers on top of the blast chiller, and of course set the top here to output and the left to input to allow us to basically automate the production of obsidian. Nice. So we'll take a couple of obsidian here, and we'll use that to make our hardened glass. For that, as we saw, we are going to need some steel. Also, Isaac, you should 100% put some coal coke or charcoal into here to allow us to actually make this steel. There we go. We should thankfully still have some steel in here. We do indeed. One thing we don't have is like a spare pulverizer or a spare induction smelter. That should be fine because right now I'm pretty sure that we've managed to fully clear the backlog on both of these chests, which is a good sign. It means our system is running faster than we're producing the resources, which is good. It also means that we can temporarily just use this guy here to pulverize some steel. and that is just being pulled back into the system, which is perfect. We'll leave that going as it is. We can then also potentially hijack one of these induction smelters here temporarily with the obsidian, the glass, and the steel dust to allow us to actually make the hardened glass. For that, we are going to have to temporarily take out the slot seals, but I think that's fine. Oh, that's my bad. It is sand that we need here, not glass. That's good, actually. We've got more sand than we do glass. Let's do that. That's going to start making the hardened glass for us. Fantastic. For now, we can just drop this back onto the belt there and have it loop back around to be smelted later. All that hardened glass is going to make its way into the system, and then back over in here, we can unbookmark the blast chiller. We can craft up, hopefully, enough machine frames here, 1 and 2, to make ourselves a magma crucible. For that, we're just missing 2 Invar gears, which I thought we had, but I guess not. That's also fine. We can go and throw some Invar ingots into our metal press. And then as for the crystallizer, the other machine that we're after here, this just requires some Constantan gears, which we do have. I made those before the stream started. We do, however, need 2 signalum plates for that as well. Also not a problem. We've got the plate press, of course, and we actually don't need this many Invar gears, so we'll swap that out. We'll do something like this, and we should be basically good to go. We'll take 1 and 2 signalum plates. That is a quest complete. That gets us the crystallizer, and then as for the magma crucible, we now have the Invar gear, and so should be able to make the magma crucible. Nice. In the quest book, it does mention that the magma crucible here is required for making liquid glass, and then the crystallizer is going to combine that liquid glass with niter to make the crystal base. Now, in order to get credit for both of those recipes, we do first have to get some of the hardened glass out of the system. We also do need to put the slot seals back into here to allow this to keep working as intended. For now, we can put the sand back in the system, and we can, of course, grab the hardened glass that we've made. Nice. We'll claim all of our quest rewards, taking us to an extra 8 tech books, and now we need niter. Niter is a little trickier in that in order to get it, I think we have to pulverize sandstone here, and then there's a 30% chance that we get it. I don't think there's really much of another option. There is the option of buying niter ore, which I think is for sale in the quest. I think we have to get our first niter before we can do that, though. Oh no, we have to unlock a research paper for niter, and to unlock that, we might have to, yes, get our first niter. Okay, so our very first niter, at the very least, does require that we take some sandstone and we run it through the pulverizer. This should be fine. Our pulverizer is pretty quick. This is basically going to turn the sandstone back into regular sand, which is completely fine, and as a byproduct, it's going to produce some niter for us. That's another quest complete. And now, to make the crystal base, we have to use the crystallizer to combine niter with liquid glass, and as we saw a second ago, that liquid glass is made by putting either sand or glass into the magma crucible. So we kind of need to find a place to put these machines, and that's going to be a little tricky. We do have power being generated around here, which is useful, but we don't really have too much space to put these machines. We could kind of temporarily do this and have a machine on either end like that. That is going to start to back up on power, which is useful, and I think it's probably going to be fine for now until we get a better way of distributing our power to kind of far off machines, and then we can just, for the time being, use a bucket to take the liquid glass and move it from one machine to another. And the idea here is that we can get these crystal bases. The crystal bases can then be used to make prismarine if you combine the crystal base with some water again in the crystallizer, but they can also be used to unlock the research paper for crystals. In turn, that's going to unlock us crystal fragments, which we can then use to get crystal ore, which we could mine if we wanted to, although I'm not entirely certain that we need to automatically mine crystal ore, because the crystal ore produces crystalline, which you get by either breaking it or pulverizing it, and then you can pulverize the crystalline into crystalline dust, which we then need to put into an induction smelter with yet more of the crystal base, and prismarine dust, redstone dust, emeralds, or lapis dust. We don't need the infused crystalline just yet, but we do need sapphire dust, emerald dust, and peridot dust. These can then be used, you guessed it, with even more liquid glass to make the rubies. We need 4 blocks of ruby in order to unlock diamonds. Thankfully, as soon as we get our first rubies, sapphires, and peridots, we can then go back up to Orzaros, and we can actually buy individual gem ores. We have to hand in 12 tech books, but we can then choose ruby ore, sapphire ore, or peridot ore and then we can just use those, which are going to be substantially quicker and easier to get the rubies. For example, right here, we can take the ruby ore and then process that through an induction smelter to get 1 ruby at a time, which is much better than trying to do it the default way. For now, though, it basically means that we need to get a bunch more niter, which we should have actually in here, and we can keep putting yet more sandstone into these pulverizers to get even more niter, and then we need to keep using that to get more crystal base. And the first step, I guess, is for us to get enough advanced technium, which we might have actually, to make the crystal research book. It's not quite enough, but now that we have more steel gears, we can actually make that work. Fantastic. Okay, do we have what it takes then to unlock the crystal research? I think the answer is yes. We do need more paper, which means we do need more sugarcane, which means we have to go through the leaf system. We got to do this, and then this into kelp, the kelp into bamboo, the bamboo into sugarcane, and of course the sugarcane into paper. Fantastic. We could maybe do with setting up a garden cloche for sugarcane, so we just have that automatically available for us, and then we could even set up an automatic system for crafting the sugarcane into paper, so we don't have to do that manually either. But back over here, we've got almost our 4th crystal base. Again, some integral components here would help out tremendously. There we go. Fantastic. And then back in our crafter, we should now be able to craft up the crystal research, which should allow us to unlock this section of the quest book. It does. As per usual, we're going to disable everything that came before. I don't want redstone, I don't want nickel, I don't even want lead, I don't want anything else. I think all of these are disabled, but just to be safe, I'm going to disable them all again. And then, how much colored stone do we have? We have got loads, and of course we do still have our prospector's pickaxe. And so let's quickly see if we can't get some crystal ore here. Again, we do want some of this, but we don't need tons of it. I think we really just need enough to unlock the ability to buy the ores that we actually want in this scenario. We should hopefully have enough space to dump basically all of this into the system. And then, do we have enough stone? We totally do, because as we saw before, you can in fact use colored stone for this, and that gets us crystal ore. Cool. So we need to now pulverize the crystal ore, which we can do over in here. That is going to get us the crystalline, and then we need to pulverize that again to get the crystalline dust. That is not going to be a problem. We can take that crystalline and we can just run it through a secondary pulverizer like this. Do we have a decent amount of niter? Yeah, 21 seems good. If we need a lot of niter going forward, we can always get the ore for it, but I don't necessarily think we are going to need it, at least not at this moment in time. There's the crystalline dust. That is another quest complete. And so now we need, I guess we need 3 crystalline dust, which we've got. We got 5. And then we need more of these guys, which we have. 3 is kind of perfect. And from there, we need 1 redstone dust. We need 1 lapis dust, which I assume we get by pulverizing lapis down. Let's give that a try. I assume that's correct. It is. Yep. Okay. Lapis dust should now be in here. And then for the peridot, what did we need here? We needed prismarine dust. Oh, of course. Right. Sure. So here we have to put water and a crystal base into the crystallizer. For that, we could do with initially getting rid of the backlog here, so we could do with doing this to empty out all the liquid glass, and then we need to get a bucket of water, which we can of course grab from our aqueous accumulator, throw that in with 1 of the crystal bases, or I guess ideally 4 of the crystal bases, so we can use up the full bucket of water, and then from there we should have everything we need to make the different tiers of crystal. So in here, I'm going to temporarily turn the input off on this so that we can use it without it filling up with random stuff, although it did still fill up with random stuff. Hold on, I want this set to disabled. There we go. Let's try that again. Get rid of you, get rid of you. And then now let's do redstone, let's do crystalline, and let's do crystal base. That gets us our first ruby dust, which we can then just smelt. No, we have to run that through the crystallizer again. Okay, in that case, let's do that and use up some of the liquid glass we've got. Boom, boom, and boom. That's going to get us the sapphire version. I actually don't know if we need all of these. I have a feeling that just getting the ruby crystal might unlock ruby ore for us. Oh, in order to unlock the gem ores, we first have to unlock the research paper for gem ores. And in order to unlock the research paper for gem ores, we need the elite technium. Ben! Oh, no. Okay, fine. That is unfortunate. So, until we unlock elite technium, like until we complete this recipe and get our first elite technium, we actually can't get the ore for rubies. That is really unfortunate, because it means that if we wanted to get 4 blocks of ruby, we'd have to do it this way, which I think is going to be way more effort than it's worth, which means I don't think we're going to be able to get that gear working die today, unfortunately. But it does mean that instead we can kind of pivot our efforts towards trying to get our first elite technium. For that, it doesn't actually seem too bad. Signalum ingots we actually already have. We've got 46 of them in the system. Electrum gears we also already have. Those are ready to go. We already have advanced technium. Lead sheet metal really isn't too difficult. We need 8 lead sheet metal, and that just requires 8 lead plates, which we don't have, but I will go ahead and take a stack of lead and just throw it into the metal press over here with, of course, the plate mold, which I think is already in there. We do want to make sure that we have lapis in this lapidary dynamo, because otherwise the metal press runs out of power quite quickly and then slows down to a unbearably slow speed. But while that's doing its thing, the only other item we need that we don't currently have is amethyst shards. Amethyst shards here are made in the induction smelter with 1 of each of the ruby, sapphire, and peridot. Okay, so we only need 4 of each gem, which should be kind of fine, I think. We're definitely going to want to get integral components here. Let me make, ideally, one of these. Are we really fully out of Invar? I might have dumped quite a bit of my Invar into the advanced crafting table over here. I did, but then I guess we crafted it all into advanced technium, which is not ideal. What I might do then, as a more temporary measure, is kind of steal the reinforced integral component from over here and use that to help us out down here and make things just a little bit faster. We can also check and see if we have what it takes to make some flux linkage amplifiers as well, because those would also help make this entire endeavor substantially faster. We do indeed have what it takes to make at least one of those, which we might as well throw in, and then from there we can just re-put in the niter to kind of burn through the remainder of this liquid glass. Thankfully this is now much faster, and it still doesn't require that much power. This must be a very low power machine in its base form. And once this is empty, in terms of liquid glass, we can put water in, and then throw in, I guess, 4 crystal base. That is going to get for us the 4 prismarine shards, which we can then use to get the 4 prismarine dust, which we can then use to get the 4 peridot, which is kind of the perfect amount as well, because we do need 4 peridot to get the 4 amethyst shards. On top of that, we also need more crystalline dust. That is fine though, because we should have a bunch of crystalline in the system. We do indeed. I'll also continue breaking down more of the crystalline ore just in case we need more of it. Once that's done, we should be able to pivot back to using liquid glass in here. We can also take the prismarine, run that through a pulverizer its own, like so. That's going to break down quite nicely for us. And at this point, chat, I think we're actually surprisingly close to unlocking elite technium, at which point we might be able to make a lot of this stuff happen. As I mentioned earlier, I think the biggest bottleneck to us is going to be tech books though, because if we want to get ruby ore, for example, we need to spend 12 tech books to buy the ore, but in order to be able to buy the ore, we first have to complete this quest here, which is another 16 tech books already. That's more tech books than we have. We've only got 21 here. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's probably well worth getting this quest unlocked. This quest requires 20 tech books, but I think it's going to be a worthwhile investment to allow us to craft more tech books. To make it, we hand in 4 tech books with 4 basic technium, and don't forget, we do have access to our technium via the system now, which is nice. It's coming in automatically. We can then, hopefully, just take this and take the tech books, hand in basically all of our tech books, and unlock the recipe to make more of them. So the recipe here is basic technium plus bronze makes a tech book. Right now, we've got 55 basic technium, and we've got more than enough bronze, I think. Don't forget that we have, I think, like 4 stacks of bronze backed up inside of the induction smelter up here. Yeah, we got loads of bronze. So we can take all that out and use it for crafting tech books. The bottleneck that we're going to run into, and one of the problems that we do need to solve actually, is that right now we're actually not producing smooth stone, and so we're not actually fully automated yet on the basic technium, because when we replaced our jumbo furnace here, while we started processing all of our ores, we didn't replace the smelting of stone into smooth stone. And so right now we have this stone being generated, but it's not being smelted into smooth stone. That was my bad, and that means that it's not usable for the production of basic technium. That is something that we should update sooner rather than later. For now, though, let's quickly see if we can't get down here without dying, and preferably without picking up every single last one of the ores as well. But let's also see if we can't finish one thing at a time. Let's first start by trying to finish off the gems here. So we should have prismarine. We do indeed. And then from there, we just need more crystalline base. We've got some here, along with the dust. So if we do you, and you, let's also make sure we grab even more of this to keep things going. We'll put you in there. We need at least 3 more lapis dust to get the 3 more sapphires. And then we need 3 more redstone. We also need quite a few more of the crystal bases as well. These guys right here. That is perfect. Let's get ideally some more niter going, so we'll take yet more sandstone. Thankfully, sand is unlimited. We'll throw you in there. In here, we now have the 4 peridot dust, which we can now run through our crystallizer again to get what we're actually after. So we'll take you out. We'll put you in there. We'll move over our bucket of liquid glass, and we'll also do a quick bit of food eating while we wait here, because we are now completely out of food. The golden carrots are pretty good, but they are quite expensive. Like, we do have a lot of gold, but I think the baked potatoes might just be the better food choice for the time being, especially considering how easy they are to make. Once we are no longer hungry, let's do this. Oh, there's a quest complete. Fantastic. Bank over here, let's do the crystalline dust, the redstone, and the crystal base. And then we just need 2 more of these, which we actually have. Fantastic, along with the lapis dust. All right, chat, I think we are basically there in terms of what we need here to get the 4 rubies, 4 sapphires, and 4 peridot that we need. We've got the dusts. We've got the actual peridots themselves. We just need to run these through the crystallizer again. Over here, let's do you. Let's move over yet more liquid glass, and thanks to our integral components and flux linkage amplifiers, this shouldn't take too long. And other than that, we just need to grab 4 electrum gears. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to put some of this slag away. We also need to grab 8 signalum ingots. Again, thankfully we made a ton of these in a previous episode. We kind of backed up on them. Lead, we do have. It is up in our chest next to the metal press. Let's go grab that real quick. Once we've got the lead plates, we can take the rubies. Over here, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Make a bunch of lead sheet metal. That's more than we need, but that's fine. And then in here, we can go you, and you. Was this a craft or was this a induction smelter? It's an induction smelter, of course. Everything in this tier is an induction smelter. Boom, boom, and boom. All right, that should be, finally, everything that we need. We potentially just need some advanced technium, but we have that up in our drawer. So we'll take all of the amethyst shards. Ideally, all 4 of them. Fantastic. And then let's go see if we can't make our first elite technium, which we'll do in this crafter here. There's nothing in here, so we can just move over to the second page and then do something like this and like this. Nice. And that should be another quest line complete. Nice. And yet more tech books for us to take home. I'll just claim all of those to get the extra 15. And so now that we've completed this quest line, and this quest in particular, we have unlocked the ability to purchase gems. And the gems are back over here, gem ores. For that, we need 16 tech books, which is 1 shy of what we have, as well as this book here. The quest does require 4 Technium Ingots. That's probably fine. We can probably get 3 more of these fairly easily. It's a little bit time consuming with the crystallizer, but for the most part, it's not too bad. And then from there, we can actually start to mine rubies and unlock diamonds, and that's not going to be too difficult. I did also see, chat is right, that we did also unlock quite a few things here. Angel rings are unlocked. This is quite good. It would give us creative flight. XNet is unlocked. This is super powerful in terms of moving around power, items, fluid, all that kind of stuff. Tech book tier 2 is also available here. This only requires the advanced technium, but again, we don't have any of it left, which is not ideal, but for the time being, we can stick with our current purchase. And so, yeah, I think we kind of just need to spend a few minutes here getting 3 more elite technium. Again, we have the lead for it. We have the signalum for it. We have the electrum for it. We would need to get 3 more advanced technium, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. Lava's easy enough. Basic technium we have. Invar we've got, and aluminum sheets we have as well. The only tricky bit is getting 12 more rubies, sapphires, and peridots. Okay, so quite a bit of crafting later. I've just made 3 more advanced Technium Ingots. I think we are basically good to go, though, on the next 3 elite Technium Ingots. I just spent some time making yet more of the Peridot, Sapphires, and Rubies. You'll see that we have 3 of each of those. I did also make some more Flux linkage amplifiers here to make this machine faster, but I've also been moving them back and forth, because you can also use the induction smelter here, of course, to make Invar, and we did just need Invar for the advanced Technium. And so now we just need to throw these back in, actually. I know I've just moved this out, but we can do this and this. That's going to make the amethyst shards just that little bit faster. We should get 12 amethyst here, which should be enough to make 3 more elite technium. We've got enough sheet metal, that is fine. We have got enough signalum, that is also fine. And we should have enough electrum gears as well. We do. We only need 12, and we got 14, so I'll take 12 of those. Somebody in the Twitch chat did make a very good point that I did not even think about, and that is that in this pack, you can turn stone into smooth stone in the induction smelter. It's not done in a redstone furnace, and so the thing that was pointed out to me is that we could just add smooth stone back to the pre-existing conveyor belt system. I was thinking we were going to have to get like the jumbo furnace back in the mix and use that to make smooth stone, which we definitely could have done. But I think the easier setup is going to be to basically just take regular stone, add it to this side of the splitter, and then if we just take an extracting conveyor belt and add our smooth stone miner, which is over there, I am going to top that smooth stone miner with some redstone blocks to make the stone nice and fast. But if we top these up and add the extracting conveyor belt, we should just be able to pump to the pre-existing belt and have it go to the pre-existing setup to be processed. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Fantastic. And then from there, we'll go extract here, and then we can just run out and ideally around towards here. And I kind of don't want to move that torch, so I guess I'm going to do something somewhat awkwardly like this. Also, not quite sure why that one got placed there, but let's go ahead and rotate these to face the right way. So you need to face that way, you need to face this way, and you need to face that way. Those should now make their way out, around, and to the smelting system to be turned into smooth stone. Nice. Now that's taken care of, let's grab our amethyst out of the system, and let's go see if we cannot put together 3 more of the elite Technium Ingots. We can. Nice. And in doing so, we should now finally be able to craft up the recipe unlock for the ruby ore. To do that, we need, I think, exactly 16 tech books, which is kind of great. Let's type in, I think it's gem. Yeah, this is what we're after right here. We need 4 crystal ore, which we can make, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we also need, of course, a research paper. That is completely fine. Boom, and boom. We'll take that. We'll go back up to, I believe, elite research, and we are going to unlock the gem ores. Boom, and boom. Nice. And so now we should be able to spend even more money on buying the ruby ore, specifically, is what I'm after. And this is where our recent purchase is going to come back in. We're going to do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's so much bronze, but I think it's worth it because now, back up here, we can do this, submit, and we can get ruby ore. Nice. Now, I was kind of contemplating where to put this because we have filled in all of our slots, but we have a few slots I don't think we need to have filled. For example, we've got 2 miners making coal. I think that's unnecessary. Right now, we have got 12,000 coal, and we're about to set up a system to delete excess coal using the void upgrade, and so I think we can probably just go ahead and get rid of this. I also think that we probably don't need this light gray colored stone either going forward, so I think our next ore is probably going to go there. This almost certainly needs a higher tier of mining frame. It does. It needs the tier 6 support frame. Thankfully, we've got a ton of gold. It's one of our most abundant resources, at least ingot-wise, and so we should definitely be able to make 36 of those. Let me quickly go ahead then and replace these support frames with something a little bit more yellow. Boom, 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 and that should be good to go now. Thankfully, nothing really has to be done here because the ruby ores, much like all the other ores, just need to go around to the central processing line. I guess the one slight problem now is that we do need the rubies. Actually, I think there might be a way for us to fix this. Over here, we've kind of added all of these ores here, but I don't know. Filter items based on their tags. Filter items based on their tags. Can I change this? Oh no, that does do tags. The unfortunate thing is that they're all ores. And so we don't want like lapis and coal ending up down here, which I think is what could happen if we filter based on tags. We want the rubies to go down here. Damage, NBT data. We could potentially just send the rubies to the south side and then somewhat awkwardly do something kind of like this, where we have this guy going this way. Again, don't forget the belts go kind of around. So if it's going this way on the bottom, it's going that way on the top. So I want it to go like that. That should, if we then send the rubies are not filtered, so they should go to the front by default, which I think they have done. But the rubies should now be in the right place and should be going around. Over here, we can bring this guy back online by putting in the slot seals, and we'll move these back over to here, and we'll just set the top of this back to input to bring that back online again. But we should hopefully now see the ruby ores going around here. Again, it does look a little bit awkward, and I'm not quite sure why gold is going out that side either. But if it's working, I'm not going to complain too much about any of it. Oh wait, I didn't even set the rubies to the blue side, right? Interesting. Very interesting. Let me see if I can't grab a ruby ore. Oh, there's a lot of ores that are just kind of sitting up there. That's also not particularly great. This chest is not full, is it? No, that chest is not full. Let me dump all of the ores that we want in here. Ruby ore I want to specify as going to the south, like that. The lack of a filter might have been causing some issues there. Let's try not break our entire setup here if we can avoid it. And then let's throw these back in. Coal ore, of course, wants to go to the other side. And then let's see... Was that a ruby I just saw there? I feel like I might have seen a ruby all around that side. What is going on up here? Why do we have spewage? Let me climb up and let's see if we can figure out what's up. Interestingly here, it looks like the hopper, I think, is causing the problem, because occasionally the hopper fills up completely and it's not getting rid of the items fast enough. I think this is one of those situations where we might just want to replace our pre-existing hopper with a rapid hopper to allow it to empty out its contents just that little bit faster so that it doesn't end up in a situation where something can't go in. Because if something can't go in, it's not like it waits to go in, it just never goes in, which is not ideal. Whereas now you'll see that as soon as something goes in, it's kind of instantly dumped out, and so there shouldn't be any room for things to not get sent to where they need to go. And I think now everything should be going to where it needs to go, and most importantly for us, we could do with getting another drawer here, because right now our rubies will just be getting dumped into the chests over here, which is not ideal. Let's throw this down, I guess, right about here. I do still plan to move these drawers, of course, and let's lock that before anything rogue gets put in there. Fantastic. Do we have any rubies in our system? We do. We got 26. Nice. We'll put those in right about here. If I check my drawers, do we have any overflow? It looks like we're doing okay on overflow so far. Like, we've yet to overflow again on lapis or coal, but the rubies are coming in. We can, of course, take those and we can start crafting them into blocks of ruby. We only need 4 blocks of ruby to unlock the diamonds and emerald. We also need 4 more advanced technium, which I think is probably doable, actually. If I go and get some more steel gears. We do need 16 steel gears to make that happen, but everything else I think we have ready to go, and in the time it takes us to get the 16 steel gears, I think we'll get more than enough rubies to make that final block, at which point we should finally be able to unlock the diamonds and emeralds, and that's going to allow us next time to come back and hopefully automate the advanced Technium Ingots. Alright, so a few more steel gears later, we are backing up on basic Technium again, thanks to the smooth stone coming in. You'll love to see it. And so we'll go ahead and take 1, 2, 3, 4 basic Technium Ingots. Over here, we can craft up 4 more advanced Technium Ingots, and from there we should be able to unlock the Diamond and Emerald Research Book, this one right here. Of course, as soon as we craft up our 4th ruby block, we are now up to an extra 43 rubies. We could make another 4 blocks if we wanted to, but boom, and whoops, we need, of course, 1 more research paper, and boom, there we go. Fantastic. Let us go ahead and unlock the Diamond and Emerald section of the quest book. Nice. So next time, champ, we'll come back, we will get some diamond ore, we'll get some emerald ore, we'll get those, of course, set up down here. I think what we'll do is, as I mentioned, I'm probably going to get rid of the colored stone miner. I don't think we're going to need hundreds of, if thousands of colored stone going forward. We've got 286, and we've also got a chest full of colored stone over here. I think this is going to be more than enough to get us, hopefully, through the remainder of the pack. So I'll probably replace this for, like, diamonds. And then I'm also thinking that next episode, I might also move the lava one as well, the lava miner, because I'm thinking about moving the bottling plant and the lava miner up to this platform here so that we can more easily automate the production of lava bottles, because if we leave it where it is currently, we're going to have to run a fluid duct from there all the way up to the bottling plant, or all the way over here to the bottling plant, which would work, but I think is unnecessary. If we just move the lava miner up to here, we could then automate the bottling of lava much more efficiently, and we can also look, of course, at getting those multi-servo presses to automate the production of aluminum sheets and also of steel gears. We'll also, of course, as I mentioned last time, look at getting the improved blast furnace so that we can automate that as well, because right now you can't actually automate the current tier of blast furnace. Unlike the coke oven here, you can't hop it into or out of the basic tier of blast furnace, so we are going to have to upgrade that if we want to automate it. Of course, we already have basic technium automated, so I don't think it's going to take us too long at all to automate advanced technium ingots. And then from there, automating elite technium ingots also shouldn't be too difficult. Electrum gears, super easy. We can just combine gold and silver in an induction smelter to make electrum, and then a multi-servo press is going to make the gears. Signalum is just made in the induction smelter with silver, copper, and redstone, so it's just a case of sending all those items to that induction smelter. Again, the sheet metal for lead is just as easy as the sheet metal for aluminum, and the only slightly tricky bit is the amethyst shard, but if we can unlock the sapphire and peridot ores, which we should be able to do, it's just a case of handing in the tech books for them, it's just a case of buying them and setting them up like we have with ruby here, then it's just a case of throwing down an induction smelter to make the actual amethyst shards themselves, and then elite technium is done. And so I think that next time we should be able, hopefully, to automate the production of both advanced technium and elite technium, and then from there we can start to look at unlocking a lot of new stuff, because there's a ton of stuff that opens up to us once we get to elite technium. Things like the tempad to allow us to teleport around more easily, things like Flux Networks that's going to allow us to wirelessly send our power around the base more easily, that's going to allow us to set up centralized power somewhere and then send it around without having to put down a new dynamo whenever we need new power in one place or another. XNet, super powerful as well. Laser IO, super powerful. Angel Rings allow us to get creative flight. One thing I do want to do before we leave here is I want to take some of the 382 obsidian that we have. We've kind of burnt through all of our lava, but that is, I think, completely fine. We're going to take some of this obsidian and we're going to make a couple of void upgrades just to make sure that we don't end up with any spewage in the near future. So let's take at least 3 of these. More might be necessary, but the 3 main things that I want to start voiding are the lapis, the coal, and the redstone. And so now, if we back up on too much of any of these, instead of overflowing into the chest, we're just going to delete the excess, which I think is ideal. Eventually, we'll probably look at putting void upgrades on basically all of these, as well as a couple of upgrades to make sure we have, you know, a lot of that resource. But yeah, this is looking good. We're making some good progress, and we're getting into a much meatier section of the quest book as we enter the elite and then ultimate, hellish, and void tech upgrades. We've still got a ways to go, but as always, that is a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Techopolis 2 there.